Good afternoon, Wealth Our Way Nation. What is going on? It is your man, Charles Tank Harris, the CVO, excuse me. I don't know my own title today, and founder of the financial literacy platform, Wealth Our Way, where our motto is wealth is not only for the wealthy. I welcome each and every one of you to episode 55. I'm waiting a long time to say this, the double nickel episode of Wealth Our Ways, 15 minutes of finance. I want to thank each and every one of you who are live with me as I stream across the Wealth Our Way Facebook and YouTube platforms. I also want to give the salute to Wealth Our Way Nation members who watch this program pre-recorded overnight, over the weekends, or wherever they can squeeze 15 minutes of financial literacy in. And then also a heartfelt how are you to the Life 101 platform members who listen to the audio recording of this very here program. So as you can see, this is the beauty and sometimes the curse of being live and shooting a broadcast. So my work has, besides for giving you guys the information that I give you on a daily basis, I'm also responsible for satisfying client needs throughout the day. And today has been a very, very chock full, busy day of satisfying client needs. So as I broadcast episode 55, how to best utilize Social Security, kind of carrying over our conversation from yesterday of the three biggest mistakes that people make when choosing how to use their Social Security. I was sidetracked a little bit getting ready for this program, handling some client issues, as well as working with my brand strategist on ways to improve Wealth Our Way and 15 minutes of finance. So I appreciate you watching me shuffle papers when I started. What I want to do today is we're going to share a screen and we're going to go and calculate some of the numbers that we talked about yesterday. If you remember, I told you the three biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to utilizing Social Security is they take it too early. They take it in a structure that allows for too much of the benefit to be taxed, which to me, too much means taxing any of it is too much. And then the third one is when they take it early, they don't utilize the funds properly. So like I said, a lot of people take it because they have that FOMO as the proper acronym, fear, FOMO, the fear of missing out. They don't want to miss out on their benefit. They don't want to die before they get their Social Security money because they've paid into it so much. Well, we talked yesterday and I showed you straight from the IRS's actuarial tables what the life expectancy numbers are for those of us as we age. And I think I did a pretty good job of showing you that the odds of you dying before you get your fair share of Social Security is a lot less than people think. But I can't not respect and not acknowledge people's fears that they may not get their Social Security money back. So once again, as we talked about yesterday, I'm 51. I'm probably one of the older reaching demographics. Somewhere between 50 and 60 is the older side of the audience that watches this program. So some of you may be thinking, Tank, why are we talking about Social Security? I'm not getting it right now. A lot of us are responsible for giving information to our parents, and our parents are taking Social Security. B, we have to plan for our Social Security because you have to make sure, and I told you guys yesterday to go to ssa.gov and make sure you know what your Social Security benefits are projecting out to be. Because some of you, especially if you're a small business owner, I promote a lot of small business ownership here on 15 Minutes of Finance. You have to make sure that your self-employment tax or however you're contributing through your payroll is counted for your Social Security. That is one of the drawbacks. There's not a lot of drawbacks to being an entrepreneur. I am 100% pro-entrepreneurialism at Wealth Our Way. But you do have to make sure that you account for your Social Security contributions properly. And one way to account for them properly is to check ssa.gov annually, quarterly, semi-annually, however you see fit, to make sure that your proper income is being reflected. So yesterday we used me as an example, and we talked about me taking my money at age 62, age 66, or age 70. We talked about it being the difference between getting $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, or over $5,000 a month. And we looked at how much money I would have gotten if in every example, whether I took it at 62, 66, or 70, what I would have gotten by the time I turned 85. We used 85 as my death year. So those numbers turned out to be $833,313 if I took the money at age 62. It was $921,538 if I took it at 66, and it was $968,010 if I took it at 70. So I get a lot of people who aren't used to having a bunch of money or can't really wrap their mind around how this money differentiates, who say there's not a huge difference between 921,000 and 968,000. So why would I wait just to get an extra 40,000 bucks over 14 years, which works out to be hundreds of bucks a month? What I want to tell you is, and I'm going to show you on the compound interest calculator, is although you've given up this money by taking it earlier, you do have the ability to invest the money that you've taken out from Social Security. So one of the things we talked about yesterday was avoiding taxes. And the ways you avoid tax is by keeping your taxable income in retirement low. How do we keep our taxable income in retirement low? We make sure that the distributions that we get from our retirement plan are not taxable. And what's the way to do that? It's to be in a Roth IRA. So we've talked in past programs about contributing to a Roth IRA, converting to a Roth IRA. If you're looking at the banner, go across the bottom of this program, you see that I'm running a contest right now that once we have this webinar at the end of this month, you will be able to win $200 as a contribution to go into your IRA. So your Roth IRA. So with that being said, what I want to talk about now is, if you take the money early, if I cannot convince you to wait and delay the Social Security benefit, what you could do with that money. So we're going to share screen. We're going to go right there to Wealth Our Ways website, and we're going to use our compound interest calculator. So we talked about the fact that if you took your money at 62, you would get roughly $3,000 a month. So we'll use $36,000 at the end of our first year for getting our Social Security benefit. And every year we'll talk about taking that $36,000 and contributing it into a savings account. Now, what do we want to grow this savings account at? We look at traditionally using an S&P 500 index fund, but we have to remember we're in our 60s. We might not want to take as much risk as we took in our 50s or our 40s, because if the market goes down, we may feel as though we don't have as much time for it to come back. So let's say instead of using the S&P 500 as our benchmark, which returns 10% a year before expenses and taxes, let's use a mixture of S&P 500 and let's say a bond fund. Bond funds traditionally return around 5%. So if we're mixing 5 and 10, and we're going to go, let's say 60% S&P 500, 40% bonds, that's a blended rate of 8%. If we account 1% for expenses, which, you know, if you're rocking with Wealth Our Way, you're not paying 1% of expenses, but let's just say we are in this example, 1% in expenses means that our money will grow at 7% a year before taxes. We will not have the opportunity, unless we're working, to contribute this money to a Roth IRA. So most likely we will be paying some form of taxes. I'll account 1.5% for taxes and say that the return on this money is going to be 4.5%. So we're not going to increase our contributions. We're going to leave the money that we put in at age 62. We want to see what would have happened if we kept it in there to age 70. And then we're going to use this 4.5% as a rate of return. If we calculate that, we will see that the money that we took out, it breaks down right here. By putting $36,000 a year in for 8 years, not increasing anything on our contributions, we are able to accumulate $404,000. And that is made up of the $36,000 in the first year, the $288,000 over the next 7 years, and the interest that money grew at. That interest grows at $80,000. That's how much interest we earn. So if we break it down for the detailed results, we will see the table. 36,000 in the first year, what we earned, what we end up with. We move that ending balance to our new beginning balance. We earn another 36,000. This is what we earn that year. If we look at all of that, by the time we are age 70, we have $404,000 to go with our continued $3,000 a month. We have made up the difference that we left on the table, almost, because we left on the table $135,000, and we will have seen that we made up 85,000 of the 135. Now, here's where I have to be a financial advisor, financial professional, and give you a very big disclaimer. Very few people will do what I just showed you. You know, when I was working in the insurance industry, I always told my clients it was a very good idea to have some form of permanent whole life insurance or index universal life insurance, something that was going to grow cash value over time. A lot of people have a school of thought of you never buy those types of insurance. They're a ripoff and they're expensive, and you should just buy term insurance and invest the difference. You've all probably heard that term and invest, to buy term and invest the difference. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a financial planner, buying term and investing the difference has its advantages. You know, an insurance salesman may not agree with you, but I'm telling you, as a neutral financial planner, it has its advantages. One of the biggest drawbacks, though, to using that strategy is when people choose to buy term and invest the difference, they normally never invest the difference. That's the problem. When you buy whole life insurance, it's forcing you to put the money away because you have a premium that's due. If you don't pay it, your policy lapses. So it's what I like to call forced savings. When there are things that we need to do that we often don't want to do, like dieting, saving, quitting smoking, we need to set ourselves up to be forced to do these things, because if they're easier to do, they're more likely to get done. The problem with the example I just showed you with Social Security, if you start taking money early that you may not need because you have other sources of income coming in, and you say to yourself, I just want my Social Security because it's mine, but I'm going to invest it so I don't really lose what I gave up by taking it out early, you got to actually invest it. And a lot of people will choose not to. Something will come up, they'll put the money in a savings account and make very little interest, and then they'll spend it. Or worse, the market will go down. And we've already talked about this on previous programs. People make the worst decisions when they're investing. They're supposed to buy low and sell high, but we've learned on this very here program that people tend to buy high and sell low. At the first bit of trouble, they're selling all of their investments. And when they think things are back normal, they buy again. They normally miss that big upturn from the bottom back to the upward swing. That you can't afford to let that happen when you're in your 60s and 70s, because your time to regain your money is much, much lower. So with that being said, I just wanted to show you an option of how to avoid the three biggest mistakes that people make with Social Security. Paying too much in taxes. I've talked to you about making sure you get tax-free income to lower your taxable income in retirement by using a Roth IRA or a whole life insurance policy. Taking the money too early. I've shown you the difference in taking it at full retirement age or delaying it to age 70. And then the last thing is, if you took it too early, what to do with those funds. Invest those funds in a mixture of low-cost exchange-traded funds or index funds that have the S&P 500 and a bond fund, so that you don't have as much risk and volatility. That is the way you make your retirement more stable. I'm going to come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about the difference between 401k, 403b, and IRAs to fund your retirement. So I'm glad you guys all tuned in. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, Thursday. You guys have a great day. And remember, wealth is not only for the wealthy. Take care.